I'll let you kick us off when you're ready.
All right. Well, we're underway. So yeah, I've looked at the first round quite a bit myself. This is Mark Jones. I'm Glen Engelhorn. I run the program football league, and we're just gonna go over this first round draft. We do a 7 round rookie draft every year. This is a college style league where you can only keep guys for 4 active seasons. You can redshirt them 1 year. There is injury red shirts, but it's pretty much supposed to simulate a college type league, but we use real NFL players who are in the first few years of their NFL careers. So if you want to check out the league, I'll leave a link in the description on this video. But at any rate, this is Mark Jones, man. He's a professional. He's probably one of the
Yeah,
best
you're too kind.
scouts. How you been doing, man?
I've been doing good. I'm having a blast. I like the amount of offensive talent this year. It always gets guys excited when there's a lot of offensive talent coming into the league, and there's a lot of intriguing things in our league that happen. People have to make some really tough decisions, and I'm sure we'll talk about some of those starting right off the bat with a couple of teams who were champions and still made some exciting moves and maybe let some people go that were part of their championship builds in the past 2 seasons. And they are moving on and going to try and secure some top tier talent with their lofty recruiting status as it may be here.
That's right.
So,
Yeah, in this league, by the way, yes, when you win, you get a higher draft pick. That's just like college football. The better programs, the ones that win, the kids want to go there and play because who doesn't want to play for the best, right?
yeah, you want to be on ESPN on Saturday night. You don't want to be the Thursday night, Fox Sports special game.
You might be able
So,
to run Division 2, but you're not going to get drafted into the NFL in the first round. That's for sure. You want to go to Bama, you want to go to Ohio State, maybe the Oregon Ducks. A lot of other teams I haven't mentioned. Michigan now is, those teams are going to attract top talent because of their success, and that's the way we do it in this league.
and speaking of success, New Mexico has had a bundle of it. They seem to be perennial favorites. They find themselves here at the top.
Yeah, finally, he won a championship. I mean, it took a little time. There was a lot of misfortune over the last couple of years. Kyler Murray couldn't get it done for them, but he graduated last year, and they took a chance on Bryce Young, and then he wasn't so hot. And so, what do? We have this transfer portal in this league. You get a restriction if you have one top 14 quarterback. If you got two top 14 wide receivers or running backs, you get a draft restriction because in real life, players don't go to teams where they're going to be blocked by somebody. They want to go somewhere where they're going to start right away. And so New Mexico had to drop Bryce Young in order to make room for Caleb Williams.
What do you think of that selection? What do you think of that? That
That's,
as a big transfer, maybe.
I think you can't do much worse than Bryce Young right now, just because, I always was skeptical because of his height. So, I mean, I think it's a fair enough swap. I don't know if you could trust Drake May or the other guy. See, these names are going to elude me now that I'm on the spot, but I have it all right here. You got Jaden Daniels over here. He's the second drafted quarterback in the NFL. So I'd say that Caleb is a fair swap for Bryce Young.
Yeah, I've saw some scouts saying he profiles really close to Patrick Mahomes, maybe the closest to Patrick Mahomes of anybody scouted in the recent years. And that's always something that gets people fired up and gets people excited. Is he going to be Patrick Mahomes? Probably not. But can he be really, really good? Yeah. And maybe he does become that elite, you know, face of the league in a couple of years. He's going to have some talent to work with. The cupboard's not bad in Chicago on the offensive side right now. Doomsday coming in as another rookie. I'm sure we'll talk about when we talk about first round selections. Is going to team up with him. They've got DJ Moore, who finally had that career year that everybody thought he would have for season after season, and so they've got some weapons out there for this kid, and he's been super talented. So when you say Caleb Williams number one, I think that's probably across the board. Almost any rookie draft that you log into in on any site, you'll find that this guy's is the number one pick. And so for Phil to be able to take him for it to fit Phil's roster at this time is a huge win for that program. I think it really secures, at least 2 years of starting QB play, even if he doesn't live up to expectations. And starts are valuable in this league, but I don't see how he's not a good quarterback. And I think Phil just really has put himself in a spot where he gets 4 years of great starts, if not great starts, at least 3 years of great starts and 1 year usable starts right away. And with his talent here, it kind of becomes the clear selection because he would have had to drop some other people to reclaim, maybe a wide receiver spot, something like that. I'm sure he probably wasn't looking to
Yes.
do right now.
Yeah, he has too many good wide receivers. He might have looked at Marvin Harrison, but the fact is he already has three elite wide receivers on that New Mexico team. And let's just go over here real quick and look. Lobos, they've already got Amon Ross St. Brown, Puka Nakua, and Jamar Chase. You'd have to let go of two of those guys to clear a draft restriction in order to sign Marvin Harrison. I don't blame him for going the Caleb Williams route instead of sticking with Bryce Young, and then because otherwise you're allowing two of those guys I just mentioned to go, and they're on screen right here. That'd be a pretty bold move right there because you never know. Marvin Harrison, I think he's going to be great, and that does take us to our next pick. That's going to be my team, the Aztecs. We barely missed winning a second straight trophy, but I had Garrett Wilson, but I just had to go for Marvin Harrison because I think it's pretty obvious why you would do
Well,
that.
let me start out just by giving you some props for the CJ Stroud pick last year. Really
Right?
nailing that one, knocking that one out of the park. It wasn't somebody that I was a huge fan. I'm more sold on early on the season, but he became a franchise caliber player, and he
Yeah.
is going to help you immensely. So having
Well, I
that,
I really liked him. I mean, I had the number one overall pick. I could have taken Bryce Young. I could have taken whoever I wanted, a running back. Well, I might have had a restriction there, but no, there was no doubt about it with me. I just watched the tape. I know you can't tell everything from tape, but he did play at Ohio State, and I love the accuracy. That was the big thing. It was all about the accuracy. So yeah, I appreciate that, and hopefully he doesn't have the sophomore slump as they call it. Yeah, that would be a bummer for me. But you can still win if your quarterback's just doing okay. It's all about your supporting cast, and that's why I feel like like Harrison's a good pick here.
have you getting any thought to going Jonathan Brooks here? Did they ever cross your mind?
Yeah, the running back, right?
Yeah, the guy that's going to be starting in Carolina probably as soon as he's healthy.
Yeah, and that's one of the
Does have
reasons I would back off is maybe the injury. No, I just I have CD Lamb on this San Diego State team, and I've really benefited from his play. I mean, that guy brings it sometimes. He hands down wins the game for us. So I
right.
felt like, what, I'm going to lose him after this year. He's graduating. And I thought, what would I do without CD Lamb in the lineup? And it's like, here's Marvin Harrison. He looks like the guy that could replace him. And to have both of them this year, I think Harrison just comes right out and starts winning, like getting big numbers. The only drawback is maybe the quarterback that's throwing to him in Arizona, but maybe he picks that guy up there. Hard to say,
Maybe
Kyler
possible.
Murray. But no, I never really even thought about Brooks. I gave it a little thought, but honestly, no, it was a no brainer for me. After I'd read a little bit about Marvin Harrison and watched some of the film, I was pretty convinced that was my guy.
What I'll say is he hands down has probably the highest floor of anybody that's going to be drafted in the first round. I think that
Right.
he is going to produce, and he's going to produce some numbers right away. Do you get the elite level CD Lamb production? I don't know if you get that in year one. Hopefully, you get it in year two, probably. And he, no matter what, he doesn't have the lower floor of some of the other players. Neighbors has a lot of twitch, a lot of explosiveness. You could argue he is a more explosive player. You could argue he has more of the twitch and some of the things like big play potentially.
Mm-hmm.
But he also comes with more of a risk surrounding cast. Not a great quarterback, the only real offensive weapon in that system. So, you know, he's going to come with his own share of concerns. A Doomsday, also another wide receiver one, who could easily be the first wide receiver drafted in about any other year. But he's in a crowded spot. We just talked about how many weapons there were in Chicago with Moore and Allen. And where does he fit in that picture? How many times does he take the field? And our league, you've got to get those first 4 years of production. If a Doomsday is a great player, but he comes to the table a few years later than some of the other prospects in this league, you really miss out on that unless you're able to just really red shirt and wait for that production. So
Yeah, it's hard to say with the Doomsday. Like you say, yeah, he is a good receiver. I mean, he looks good. I've read good things about him. But yeah, he is in a crowded spot there in Chicago, and it's kind of a rebuild with a new quarterback. I'm not sure what they can expect from him. Maybe Keenan Allen gets hurt or something. create some opportunity for him. It's possible. Malik Neighbors, of course, from LSU looks decent. I'll be honest, I didn't study the wide receivers too heavily this year because I was already set on Marvin Harrison. So I probably know more about the running backs and quarterbacks. I just kind of was
No,
like, Marvin's my guy. So I did look at these guys a little bit, but there's a lot of high picks, like first and second round wide receivers, and they're not all going to succeed. But it is interesting. This league is changing. It's really become a throwing league, and man, I mean, there's a ton of wide receivers picked in the first 2 rounds. It seems like everybody's going to get at least somebody they can get excited about.
yeah, that's one of the great things about this year. It's a lot more heavy on the offensive talent side than maybe the last 2 years, especially last year per se. And having some of those guys here will be, exciting for some of these other teams, figuring out who they're going to take the chance on, who they want to take the chance on, which kind of takes us to Georgia. And I have some real
Exactly.
questions about Georgia. Do you
Absolutely.
have any insight there on what
No,
on the
I
pitch?
don't. Yeah, I don't spy the lists. I don't try to spy the list. Now, of course, Phil
Sure.
Johnson, he runs New Mexico. He already told me he was going to take Caleb Williams, and that was the one list I did spy. I just wanted to look and just see, and I knew he was going to do it because he dropped his quarterbacks, all of them. And yeah, he's going to take Caleb Williams number one. And I know I'm taking Marvin Harrison. But Georgia, I really like the suspense here because yeah, does he go quarterback? They don't have a quarterback in Georgia, and I'll pull them up. Um, but there's so many other good players out here they could grab, running backs and wide receivers. So what do they do? What does Hunter do here? As you can see, he's got no quarterbacks on the roster right now. His running game ain't all that great. Tyler Algier is the best guy, right? I'm not seeing
Uh,
anything big here. I don't know if you can see my screen. Hopefully you can.
I
Uh,
can.
okay, you got Pickens here at wide receiver. Not bad. He did lose some wide receivers this offseason. Um, I mean, I
Yeah,
could see him maybe looking at some of these skill players and then thinking maybe I'll transfer in Bryce Young.
given the history of this program for the guys who have been in this league for a long time, this was just such a past season for Georgia. It was just such an interesting season for me. They've had some high expectations at other times. This year was probably one of the lowest expectations coming in, and they had some of their best success, and they did it without hardly any quarterback play. They had Tyson Bagent and maybe another really low end starter who got one or two starts, maybe the DeVito kid. I can't remember if DeVito was here on another team for a while, but they won it with incredible defense, and
Yeah,
they've lost a little bit of that defense. And the defense is still strong, but when I look at this, they had Lamar Jackson for one season. They got the benefit of the Jackson year that the then Mountaineers, now Buffaloes, let go in order to secure the Trey Lawrence pick. And it was just an injury down year for Jackson. And they've never really had that high level QB play. So if I'm Hunter, get that chance to get a quarterback here is really big for me. I think you've almost got to take the kid from Washington, the Jaden Daniels. Greg Cosell has watched some film on him. Greg Cosell loves the guy. Running quarterbacks have such a high floor because
yes, this is true.
you get all those rushing yards for free,
Mhm.
essentially.
And it helps
All
the
those rushing,
quarterback avoid bad decisions. He doesn't have to throw that tight pass into the tight window. He can run off. He can just take off with the ball, and that really helps a young man, I think. And he won't make as many mistakes because it's like I'm not going to take that chance. Let's run.
yeah, and there's been some studies done that show mobile quarterbacks actually aren't that much more apt to get injured than pocket passers, and that's kind of a misnomer. We're all like, "Oh,
Did not
it's
know that.
Daniel's an injury risk," and I don't think that's really the case here. Hunter could go with anybody here. He could go with Daniels. He could go with Neighbors. He could go with the Doomsday. And I really think those are his three targets, but I don't know how he passes on Daniels.
All right. Yeah. So no chance of Drake May here. You think?
Drake May, that we're talking about a guy that I really liked 2 seasons ago. I'm not quite as big on him after the last season as it was 2 seasons ago. 2 seasons ago, I thought if I landed in the spot where I could let somebody go and get Drake May, that I would do that. And I don't. That's not going to be the case. I kept Trevor Lawrence. There was some, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Some decision making there, but I kept Trevor Lawrence. So you know,
Drake
I've
May's got
heard
some
Drake.
mobility as well, does he not? He can run a little bit, if I'm
Yeah,
not mistaken.
and And just an interesting tidbit to throw out here while we're talking about this. I've heard Drake May compare favorably with Stroud as a QB with high potential who gets overlooked because he doesn't flash like some of the other players around him. And a really solid QB who was a really big time prospect gets kind of forgotten about. And then, last year we all thought CJ Stroud was on a bad team
Yeah.
without a lot of weapons. And how does this kid succeed?
So he did it with accuracy. I swear. The guy, I just watched him from, remember how he had that streak of games where he never threw an interception?
Yeah,
He
it was
was playing
crazy.
within himself. He knew everybody was doubting him, I think. And he said, heck no, I'm going to just make the safe passes. And I think that was a great idea. I mean, I don't know if that's what he consciously
Right.
tried. I think it is. I think if I was him, I'd do that. I'd be like, no, I'm not going to take any chances. I'm going to check down, and I'm
Right.
not going to, because you throw picks, it's going to beat up on your confidence. And I love that he just came out and just would not throw picks. That was awesome. And yeah, I'm speaking of Drake May, by the way, just on a side note, I went to the Holiday Bowl 2 years ago. You might remember that. I saw
Sure.
the Ducks play against North Carolina. So I saw Drake May and Bo Nix in that game, and these guys were both top 12 picks. That was pretty cool. I can always say that I actually saw two top 12 guys play in the same game. And out here on the
Would
West
you take
Coast, that's saying something.
absolutely? Would you take May over Daniels?
That's a tough choice for me. It really is. I just don't know. I kind of like May. I don't know why. I just
Okay.
kind of do. I mean, he definitely. The Ducks were in control for a little bit in that game, and I know there was supposedly some questionable calls, defense, with penalties late in the game. But the fact is, the Ducks were kind of in a position to start running those guys early on, and May and that team just started coming downfield and just he did engineer a great offense and kept that game tight, and it came down to like 1 point. I think it was a crazy game. So May,
He looked,
he's got some nails, I think.
yeah, and to your point, he looked way better 2 seasons ago, in my
Yeah.
personal opinion.
No, you're
But
probably right. You live in North Carolina. You would know.
the cupboard was bare for the Tar Heels, and off compared to the year prior this season. We
Okay.
talk about Tez Walker, the free Tez, and Tez was probably their number one receiver, and you see how far down the list he fell, and in the draft order. It's not Josh Downs. Some of the talent wasn't quite up to the level of in the year prior.
Oh yeah,
But
Josh Downs. I like him. I got him on the Aztecs. He definitely looks good. So you
yeah,
got
so
Georgia down for Jaden Daniels.
I can't help but think, and they could surprise me, and I wouldn't fault them for any of those three guys. I wouldn't fault them for May. Any of those four guys, I guess you could say, it
Right.
will be absolutely fine picks.
Well, let's just go over and check his list
Uh,
right now. I'm just
no,
no. I like the suspense. I want to. I'm
no,
ready to wait on
like,
that.
and I could be wrong, but I think you have to go Daniels here.
Yeah.
I like the offense. He's got some surrounding talent. Daniels does as well. You still got some McLaurin, and I think Dotson still got some skills left in him. He's gonna have a good offense there, and I think that he probably goes Daniels. If we're checking them off the list, my vote's Daniels for
Yeah,
that one.
that's fair enough. I think on Zoom we might only have like 40 minutes, and I started a timer a little bit into this video, so we're sitting about 19 minutes. So just letting you know that we might get cut off at some point.
Okay.
So in the
Well,
audience, if anybody's actually listening to us, well, we might get cut off. Just okay, just realize that we're going to come back and try to do more of these videos. But so, okay, we got Daniels down. Now we come to your team, Colorado. You got a quarterback restriction because you've got Trevor Lawrence, of course, and you've got a running back restriction. So basically, everybody is expecting the Buffaloes to take a wide receiver.
yeah, the Buffaloes are probably going to take a wide receiver here.
All
I
right.
I kept Trevor Lawrence on the list because I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole of figuring out the ramifications of letting him go, and it just in case that Georgia surprises me with somebody else here. Because if Georgia takes, maybe a Doomsday or Neighbors or somebody like that, then that would
Well,
open
then
it
you
up
get
for
your
me to
guy
take
Jaden
Daniels.
Daniels. That's
That
not so
that,
bad.
that would open up for me to take Daniels, which I really would like.
But you kind of
But
throw away this season, do you not?
you you do to an extent,
To an
and
extent, right?
to an even greater extent, then that really kind of hamstrings you coming back around if you let Lawrence go, and then he does take Daniels. Who do you take? Then you're that was going to be the hard part for me because there's no guarantee that I guess I could pick Lawrence up, maybe, coming back through, but
Yeah,
then
you
I
just
lose
get
the
him as
first.
transfer. Yeah.
I lose the first round of the transfer, and there
That's
might be a
true. That's
talent.
true. Yeah.
There might be a talent there that I would like, and so for me, I think Lawrence is kind of set for a breakout year. I hope he's
Yeah.
had this enormous pedigree, this enormous potential. The first year was just a complete waste with a disaster that was Urban Meyer. Like the guy was more interested in partying after the game that he lost than coaching his team. yeah,
I
like,
didn't know
oh
about that. Okay.
yeah, stay behind and that was yeah, like come on, dude.
Well, I'm all for a
But
good party, but you are in the NFL, and you really you should probably focus on business while you're there. Not for
right,
long.
but yeah, good, the coach for Atlanta. What's the NFL stand for? Not for long.
Yeah, that's
People
right.
call us like that.
That's right.
Yeah,
So
but
okay, I get it. I didn't know that. You're out there on the East Coast. So yeah.
so yeah, so
So
I like Lawrence, and
no,
I
I do
think with
too. I
that,
think it's a good pick, and he didn't have a bad season. The only thing I'd worry about with Lawrence is maybe the injury factor. And I made
right,
those little videos with the AI voices a couple months ago, and I pretty much said a lot of my opinions in those. I feel like Lawrence is great. He's good enough to win in this league, but will he get hurt? And that's another story. Who knows? I don't think he will though. I think he's tough. I think he'll get through this season. I hope he does have a breakout year.
at least he's played with some injuries. I don't really question his toughness, so it's a matter of you know can he stay healthy enough to play? Because he played with some. They didn't think he was going to play. Anybody watched the game
Mm-hmm.
that he got hurt in? Yeah, everybody's like, "There's no way he plays." He's out for
Mm-hmm.
3 weeks. Then he's
Mm-hmm.
practicing 2 days later.
Right.
So
And
he
meanwhile,
ended up
CJ Stroud is like laid up with a concussion. That took forever for him to
right.
come back from that. That was horrible. I mean,
So
I know I
yeah,
was impressed. I was like, Lawrence is, I mean, we played each other in a bowl game last year. It was a semifinal bowl game. So the winner of that game goes to the championship. And I remember it was like down to Lawrence and CJ, and I was sweating it out because CJ just wasn't it was looking like he was going to be out for 4 weeks or something. And I kept hoping your guy would be out too, even though I don't want to see
right.
some,
Got an even
but I was
playing
like,
field.
God, if he just doesn't have Lawrence on the field, I could still beat him then. So I had to sweat that out a little bit. But they both played, as it turns out.
It was a really good game, that particular game.
Oh yeah, the
It
whole
really
bowl season last year I thought was a lot of entertainment. There was a lot of drama there, and that's the best part of this league. I mean, there's a lot of good things to like about this league, I think, but bowl season's always pretty cool because you know how I do it. I look at the real life bowl games and I line them up with the bowl games. In
right.
our league, I line up. I try to see which ones are the most important, and then I make those bowl games our bowl games. And we fantasy.
Sure.
It's called fantasy football. That's what we do.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. It's probably the most exciting league from start to finish year long
Yeah,
that I've ever played it for that reason. And
I think so.
everybody's involved.
Yeah, we're getting already going on our draft right now. Everybody else is like 2-3 weeks away from their drafts, and here we are. We're already talking football. I love it. So
They're going to
we
be
were talking. What's I'm sorry, man.
oh no, you're good.
I'm blabbing.
No, to your point though, the Buffaloes here, if um if neighbors goes,
I don't think he will.
if he does, there's a chance here that there's for a surprise at the Buffalo spot.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you that if neighbors goes, I like a Doomsday. But if I could take I could be persuaded to change my mind between here and there. But the 48 hours we got left. But
That's man.
but if for some reason with Lawrence kept and unable to take Daniels gets passed on. Neighbors goes. I do prefer Neighbors slightly, obviously, to a Doomsday here in this conversation. There's a chance that I take Brock Bowers here.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that's surprising to people, but because Brock Bowers has seen his stock slide immensely in a lot of the rookie drafts and some of the NFL drafts. Nobody was in love with his landing spot. Who's going to throw him the ball in Las Vegas? Michael Mayer's already there. But pre-draft, if you looked at the dynasty rankings, Bowers was number 4. Bowers is number 4 in most dynasty rankings pre-draft.
Really?
Yeah, and the the Buffaloes have never had a great tight end. Never had a great tight end. All even the year we won, it was the ghost of somebody. I can't remember who it was. It was the guy from Carolina who played in Arizona for a while, and that's as much as I can remember about the guy. He caught a few passes, scored a few points, but we've never had an elite level tight end. I think Brock Bowers is a Travis Kelsey ish type player,
Yeah, I
and a
totally
little
forgot who you were talking about. Yeah, the tight end, the top tight end. I was thinking Bowers. Wait, who's he talking about? A wide receiver? No, that's a potential guy here, Bowers. I think he's a first rounder for sure. Somebody's going to pick him up in the first round.
Yeah, and what that does is it evokes a little bit of strategy for me. I get a top tight end, and that leaves Garrett Wilson open for me coming back in the transfer possibly
Okay,
because
did you see that notification just now? It said it will end in 10 minutes. So I think I almost nailed it on the timer that I have. And I understand that if you upgrade, then you can get as much time as you want, perhaps. So maybe I might do that with this service since I've learned it. I like the fact that we can screen share. So maybe
right,
I'll join up with Zoom, and I'm plugging for Zoom right now, perhaps, but I'm not trying to do that. I'm not getting paid by them, but yeah, perhaps because you can see how these talks go. It's like we could go on for a while here. Now we can always get back on and do a second Zoom talk after this one, but
sure,
we got about maybe 9 minutes now. And just letting you know,
okay,
just letting you know. But that was cool. I like that they notified me because I was really nervous about when this was going to end because these conversations start getting good. And I've had a lot of these conversations by myself, talking to myself,
right,
and I get tired of it. It's like, man, this is good stuff. We're talking some football here. And I think a lot of people
right,
on YouTube might come across this channel. It's never going to be a big channel, and I don't really care. But somebody might appreciate the talk. I know I do.
yeah. What would be your take on Bowers and
Um,
Buffalo uniform?
Bowers, he's going to the Raiders, right?
He is in the Raiders, but he would be Buffalo's if he was drafted here.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Well, tight ends typically don't score like wide receivers. So I
typically.
would say not a bad pick if you already had a couple of great wide receivers, but you don't have that. You have one guy that was, a second round pick last year who's done well for you, and I'll pull him up. You know him, Jaden Daniel? No, not
Reed, I
Jaden
believe.
Reed. Yeah, Jaden Reed had a pretty strong season, almost 4 points a game. That's pretty decent. But if I had a chance to get another stud wide receiver, I think you really need that. Wide receivers are like the new running backs. It's just they are very important. And they can score enough to win for you. They get like quarterback numbers on a regular basis.
Yeah, they do, and so that's a very valid point. If um, if you look at adding Garrett Wilson to that, though, you go back and you add Garrett Wilson to that, that's automatically a wide receiver one, in my opinion.
Yeah,
And true, you have to wait till the transfer draft to get it, but it's wide receiver one, and you're pretty deep here. And I don't want to get too far ahead of our skis, but there's probably a wide receiver left for you in round three.
yeah,
That
there's a lot of them this year that were taken, like we were talking about. So yes, and as far as the transfer draft and Garrett Wilson, while you're speaking of him, I'm pretty sure that Georgia's going to take him because they're going to be ahead of you in the transfer draft. And I believe he does have a transfer pick. He does. He has like five. I see him
Right.
totally. He's got Pickens so far. He has no restrictions there. As long as he doesn't take a receiver in round one or two of the rookie draft, I could totally see him going Garrett Wilson in the transfer draft.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But in this scenario, he would have had to have taken Neighbors.
Right, right. Okay, got you. But I really
Yeah,
feel you're right about Jaden Daniels. I think he's going to take a quarterback at with that third pick overall or whatever pick that is. I think it's third. Yeah, I,
I
I
do.
really think you're right.
I do. I just don't see how you pass on Daniels. I really don't. And I think Neighbors is a nice pick for the Buffaloes at four, which is who I have them penciled in at. Not in the best offense, but a really explosive player, some positive reports in camp. You're looking at somebody with just that really high ceiling. So you're taking a little bit of a dice roll here because he could end up on a bad team with a really bad quarterback, and not approach the same floor level numbers of the guy who's taking before him and Harrison. But he also was a player that could give you some big years, some big games.
Yeah.
Those deep vertical inward breaking slants that he likes to catch are touchdown scoring plays. Yeah. So you look at the top routes he likes to run, and honestly, that's one of the few throws that Daniel Jones makes pretty well. So yeah,
Yeah, right.
there's
Okay.
there's a little bit of hope there that that situation is not as bleak as it might seem,
Mhm.
but
Yeah, he's
I
not
think
jumping off the page, but it's a building process in this league. And the team I run was mediocre about 3 years ago. We weren't that good, but you just kind of chip away. You add pieces, and then the thing is you might not win every year, but that's the idea. You build a program through just adding pieces, and then by the time a few things come together, you win that title, and now you've got that number one pick, and you can get that guy who's going to lead you to the next like group of years. Like we got CJ Stroud last year with the number one pick, and it appears like he's going to be able to lead this team, my team, going
sure.
forward, and be pretty formidable weapon for us. So even though you can't like say, oh, neighbors, he's Marvin Harrison. Maybe he is. I don't know, but it's a process. That's what I'm
Well,
seeing.
yeah, it really is about the build and what Buffalo has to do with this pick right here is they do have to make a smart pick that allows them to be at least as successful next year as they were this year because this is Lawrence's senior year.
Right. Right.
There's
Yeah.
no more Trevor Lawrence.
You
You
have
take
to
a
succeed to replace Lawrence. So the higher you place in the standings, the better chance of a great quarterback you get. Of course, will be teams with restrictions at quarterback. So if you even place fifth, it's still possible you could get the number one quarterback. And worst case scenario, a really good transfer pick
sure, but
based on the
you
rules.
want you want to be a little bit in control of your own destiny that this quarterback thing.
You do. That's true.
Like like you watch the teams that could have been really good that had no quarterback play. It is heartbreaking.
Right.
Um, you know, last year Oregon in this program, I think, was a playoff team if Anthony Richardson had not got hurt. And you're going to have to scroll a little bit further down the list to
You're
find those
talking
guys.
Tulane, not Anthony Richardson,
Tulane, I'm sorry,
but they
Oregon.
had Justin Herbert. Yeah, Justin Herbert.
Yeah,
And
so
I told AJ, it was like, AJ, look, just redshirt everybody. You're not going to win
really,
this year. He got out. Well, he got out to the 0-4 start, I think. And it's like you need Herbert again next year. Just redshirt everybody and just try to have a good draft. And you can get good picks at that turnaround position, like rounds 1 and the beginning of 2. You can see it right here. Oregon gets the last pick of round 1, gets the first pick in round 2. You can get good players there. And I wish we had time to go into this because I could look at past drafts and show you where teams like yours, Alabama, I think Ohio State's done it, where
right.
California, teams at the end of the first round don't necessarily are not like they're not in despair totally. It's like you can get good players at the end of that round and the beginning of the next round. So that's a key for them this year. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it was like it was a great team, I know, but I was like, just redshirt everybody. At least you got Herbert again, and you're not going to win anyway. So why not just redshirt everybody and you get an extra year with all these guys? So yeah, I
right.
mean, that was cool. You brought them up because I think Oregon's a very compelling team. I like thinking about them, what they can do. I would like to run it. I know AJ is very competitive, and he sometimes is like, well, this team's not very good. It's like, well, dude, what about challenge? You know, don't you
That
like a good
oh,
challenge?
the Oregon team was actually loaded if you look at the league setup. I mean,
Yeah,
like we were looking at New Mexico earlier, and they had three probably of the top six receivers in
yeah.
any NFL draft, fantasy draft. But it's not always that way because there's a lot of wide receivers that you're going to have to take out of the picture because they've exceeded their playing time and they've graduated, moved on. They don't have any years left active in the league.
I think we have like 2 minutes left on this stream, but if we could just jump to California really quick, I'm thinking California is going to transfer in Bryce Young possibly, and then go for a running back. Could be wrong on that one, but if they took a rookie, is Drake May possible, or would you take Drake May, or would you take Bryce Young?
Actually, when I did the mock here, I had a mocked for JJ McCarthy.
McCarthy. Okay.
Yeah. Um, I watched some videos, some scouting video, and they had a low tier and a high tier, player comparison for McCarthy. Low tier was Jake Plummer. Everybody remembers Jake Plummer coming to the league, showed a lot of promise, never put it together. Big arm, mobile kid. And I know I was a huge Jake Plummer fan, pulled for the kid. Never did become that star. He had some flashes, created some excitement, but never became that big NFL player long term. Take a guess at the high end player comparison for JJ McCarthy.
Well, so
Any guesses?
they did get rid of their starting quarterback there in Kirk Cousins there in Minnesota. So yeah,
Yeah.
McCarthy
Yeah.
might. So where go ahead. I'm sorry, man.
I was about to say I was just in the middle of making my pitch for JJ McCarthy being the next John Elway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I know, right?
when we,
I saw your
when we got
text
cut off.
after we got. Yeah,
Yeah,
you didn't get a chance to quite say that. I don't think.
I don't
McCarthy,
believe
the
so.
10th overall pick in the NFL draft this year by the Minnesota Vikings out of Michigan, national champions. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of surprising that he fell below, like, what is it? There's four quarterbacks taken in front of him. And you
Yeah,
seem to think there's something to this guy. Maybe these guys, the Patriots and the Falcons, maybe they made a mistake passing
I,
on
I,
McCarthy.
I think McCarthy's going to be a good player, and his draft stock is good for this league. Just looking at the surrounding talent, I hate to judge a player based on his situation, but when you got that wide receiver room to throw the ball to, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and then TJ Hawkinson at the tight end. Like the kid's going to have some weapons, and the offense should be good. And I don't expect them to keep him benched for too long. I think he plays pretty soon.
That's a good
So
point. Yeah, he does have some talent there, doesn't he?
yeah, like I really probably the best outside of the Bears, probably the best situation to fall into. I mean, I've
Absolutely.
saw my I've saw my fair share of Sam Darnold in the Carolinas,
Yeah.
and and I originally was a Sam Darnold fan. I kept hoping he would get it together. He kept showing glimpses of really good quarterback play, but it seemed like no matter where he's at, that's all you get are those occasional glimpses that there might be something behind the curtain, and then you get just abysmal the rest
Yeah.
of the time. So I don't think Sam Darnold holds him off. I even like the running back room. Aaron Jones is a little bit older, but you got Ty Chandler behind him. Out of those two running backs, you're going to get some production, and he really could have a team that's playoff caliber if he plays good football. So
Yeah, he's got Naylor coming in, right?
yeah, so
Wait,
there's a
wait, no,
lot.
that's the wrong. Never mind, wrong guy. No, but he does have Justin Jefferson, and he can lean on him.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison had some big games.
Yeah,
Had some big games last year.
I see your
Yeah,
point.
he was, but if you have him start somewhere else, I'm more than willing to listen because there's a lot of good picks here. I want to
No,
hear your takes on
I'm
stuff out.
thinking most people are just gonna. No, I don't have the takes you have. I think most people are just gonna go by like who was drafted higher, and they're just gonna be like best available, right? Instead of really
Right?
scouting and thinking about who actually is entering a good situation, like you're talking about. That's the way a lot of fantasy guys do it. They're like, "What did he score last year? Yeah, best available." It's like, no, you got to dig a little deeper if you really want to win. And
Sure.
that's a good take right there. McCarthy is heading into a good situation. They let Cousins go. Yeah, I think that I've not really given him. I saw him. I know he's there, and I feel like somebody's going to get something with him. But to take him this high, that would take a leap just because everybody's just like they're going to be like, oh, Drake May, or I don't know about Penix,
Yeah,
but
I have Penix going quite a bit later just because of the questions in this league of when he
yeah,
played.
he is. I mean, Falcons did. Didn't they take Cousins? The Falcons got Cousins, right?
Yeah, signed him
Yeah,
to some big.
so yeah, there goes Penix's chance to start. But he'll be an understudy. He'd be a good long term thing, maybe. I don't know. He's a lefty, so who knows? But no,
Yeah, I think
that's a good take right there, JJ McCarthy. I like that.
yes, and I don't see how Cal passes once again, any of these teams that don't have a quarterback in the top 5 or 6, I just don't know how you pass on a chance to get one of the one of the top quarterbacks out of one of the top quarterback drafts in a long, long time. Does it mean they're all going to hit? Absolutely not. Are half of them going to hit? That would be a good return rate. That would be a good return rate if half of them hit. But I don't know how you don't take that chance, especially if you're Cal and you're looking at a quarterback that's entering one of the best situations for a young rookie quarterback. And, they dropped Levis. They could have kept Levis
Mm-hmm.
if they wanted mediocre. You know, like,
Mm-hmm.
because Levis is going to have starts. Will he have starts all year long? I don't know. The offense is pretty decent around him. I like, Spears and Hopkins, and I'm not as big a Ridley fan as a lot of people, but there's some weapons out there. He's got Tony Pollard. Yeah, but the dropping of Levis tells me that, and this is me reading the tea leaves. I have no idea,
Mm-hmm.
but
No, it's
I
a
don't
good
think.
it's a good read.
Yeah, I don't think you drop Levis if you're not at least eyeing one of these guys. Maybe Phil has a different guy. Maybe it's
Drake
May. Maybe it's
Drake
Dane.
may just because he was picked higher, perhaps may, or it could be transfer. Like we said before, we were
Yeah.
talking about Bryce Young. He's going to be out there. So I don't
Well,
know.
just for some debate here, if it's not a quarterback, who does Cal take?
Okay. I was just thinking that actually. So I'm looking at Chuba Hubbard right here, right? He's their
Right,
running one of their running backs. And who did the Carolina Panthers draft?
running back.
That's right. So I
John,
mean,
John Brooks.
there you go. So Jordan Brooks, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
Jonathan, I
so
believe.
possibly he's looking at Bryce Young and then drafting the running back for Carolina. I'll pull that up over here. Hold on. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that's possible. I think I mentioned that in my videos. Yeah,
Yeah,
Jonathan Brooke, not Jordan Brooks. Sorry, the names. Oh
yeah,
my God, it's just too overwhelming. I run
yeah.
basketball leagues. I do this, and it's like,
Right.
gosh, the names,
They'll flow together at some point.
especially
But
when you're on the spot. No, Jonathan Brooks. I could see that because he's a natural hedge for Chuba Hubbard. And you need a running game too. It's not just the quarterback and the wide receivers. The running backs can be overlooked. And
right,
it's kind of important to have a good running back. Like San Diego State last year, my team, we had Kyron Williams. And when he was in, he was lights out. And
right.
he made us unstoppable. And it was crazy. So you need a running back. And maybe you asked me the question, I'm going to tell you. Jonathan Brooks, I think he might go that way, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him go. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, Bryce Young, would you do Bryce Young over one of these rookies?
I'm looking at it from the outside looking in, but I would probably have a hard time passing on the quarterback. But if you're getting Jonathan Brooks, you're getting a guy who has seen his draft stock just climb. I've checked in all summer long with pundits and watched some live mock rookie drafts and stuff like that just when I was killing some free time. Turn on the YouTube and see what some other people were thinking. And Jonathan Brooks has been a big riser. He was going, mid second round. People were scared away from his injury. And
Yeah.
then he has just kept climbing. Now a lot of, rookie drafts he's going mid first round because everybody is tuned in to Dave Canales. What did he do? He produced great running games. He's in Carolina. Brooks is going to be healthy pretty early in the season. He probably won't get a big workload early in the season, but you talk about somebody that if you have enough talent to wait and you can land this kid and redshirting until the end of the season, you
Yeah.
have a elite level top 10 running back you can plug and play for the back half of your season who might take you through to some wins and some bowl games. You can be kind of judicious when you play him when you need him,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll still have him for 4 years. One
Mm-hmm.
of the things about this league is running backs are normally the best in their first 4 years.
Yeah.
So getting a good rookie running back early is a benefit in this league more than any other
Mm-hmm.
because it's not like you're gonna get a player who's going to be good in 3 years and you only get to enjoy one or two of those.
Mm-hmm.
So there is some benefits here to taking Brooks, and you can make an argument for Brooks here. The other kid I would make an argument for is a doomsday here. Once again, a receiver that I think capable of being the number one receiver, wide receiver pick off the board in almost any draft outside of this one when you got just two really supreme talents, going in front of him. You can make a case for any of those three guys. There's a couple teams we talked about. Any of those three guys, you could
Look, if Brooks
twist my
is
arm.
healthy, if Brooks is healthy, I like him a lot because I watched the video of him in Texas about a year ago. I was already watching this guy, and I was like, my God, that dude is a stud. So, if he could be that still, as long as the injury hasn't, kind of, compromised his physical, side of his game, because you need to be physical as a running back. Obviously, you need your knees. As long as that's not an issue, I think Jonathan Brooks is a great pick. Just from what I saw on tape, I mean, he just looked like a monster. I was like, oh my God, who is this guy? I wanted to get him actually because we need a running back in San Diego State. We need to add somebody because we got Ramondre Stevenson, Kyron Williams. These guys are getting older. I mean, I'm really targeting running back eventually.
Yeah,
I wish I could do it this year.
We were talking earlier. That was my ask. We were talking about Harrison or would you consider taking a Brooks here? I think if Brooks is healthy when he enters the draft, he goes in the first round. I think he goes in the first round. Then you're talking about a guy who gets picked here automatically. Right now it's going to take honor believing in him and saying I'm willing to go here 5 or 6 or 7.
Keep monitoring the news. Keep watching the news. See if he's running well. See, just keep doing that. Hit your news feeds. That's what I would say.
I do believe he's showing good at camp. I believe he's looking pretty healthy in camp from the last bit that I heard.
I haven't seen anything bad yet. Yeah, I think he might have just arrived at camp, or did he? That might have been somebody else I was looking at. Sorry, I'm not a professional.
I read a report on him the other day looking good at camp. So I don't necessarily think that was any big physical contact, but he's there and healthy. I believe is what I saw.
All right.
So somebody who can really maybe, even if you don't want to wait, even if you don't want to redshirt him, somebody who can really just maybe be an elite level player in the back half of your season.
I really don't like redshirting running backs unless they're absolutely unproductive their first year. I say, you know what? They're young. They've got less tread on the tire. Use them up. That's the way the NFL does it. They don't pay these guys usually after 4 or 5 years. So I like to just bring them right in and just put them in there and just whatever they can give me, give it to me. I'll take 4 years and that's it. But if they're not playing, I'll redshirt them if it's one of those situations. But if he's going to play, I don't redshirt him because the chances are year 5 is not going to be the best year. It's going to be like maybe an injury, maybe year 4. I don't know. I'm just saying. And there's always the injury red shirt. If he gets injured somewhere in year 1 through 4, you get that injury red shirt. So you can still keep him the 5th year.
Yeah. And as we're looking at this draft list, I didn't realize the wide receiver restriction there for California. So that kind of wipes the doomsday off the map. So I really think you've got a quarterback or Brooks here.
Yeah, we covered, and that's day 1. We got day 1 covered now, and I think day 1 has a lot of drama packed into it. Other than the first 2 picks, I think maybe you kind of gave up what you might do, but who knows what's going to happen. Sure. But I do think that Georgia and California, those 2 picks are very intriguing to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of suspense there. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's all like how those play out. And when you go into the day 2. That top team there is somebody I'm really interested to see who they take because this is a team that has had a ton of success.
Right.
All behind Joe Burrow.
Yeah, that's right.
Mean, Joe Burrow was the buzzsaw that kept Phil from winning the championship the first time.
That's right. He had the huge game. You remember that?
He run to the huge Joe Burrow game. And so,
right.
And you kind of saw what happened the back half of the season without Burrow for these guys, and they've got some good talent. The running game is strong,
right?
You've got I believe it's Hall and someone else, Bijan Robinson. Both.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, you got it down.
Yeah,
you got Brees Hall, you got Bijan Robinson, Justice Hillier. But those 2 guys alone right here. I mean, look at their late season numbers. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, those guys are really going to put this program on the map. And then you got Devontae Smith, Tank Dell.
Yeah.
Like this is a championship caliber team if they get this pick right here with a quarterback. So
Right. And they have no quarterbacks right now. So obviously they're in need of one. So I guess it's a no brainer. And it's going to come down to who's available.
yeah, did Cal take a quarterback in front of them, or do they have their choice?
Possibly. We were talking about that. We were thinking that
Yeah,
maybe they go with the running back and then take Bryce Young. And if that's the case, then of course they've got Drake May coming to Maryland or
yeah,
McCarthy or
right.
perhaps Michael Penix. But Penix, I think, is stuck behind. The Falcons did get Cousins, right? They got Kirk
Yeah,
Cousins. Right.
they
So
did.
Penix is probably a no go. He's a future guy. If you want to win now, your best bet is Drake May or JJ McCarthy, maybe even Bo Nix, because
Right.
I'm hearing good things about him. And I think the Broncos might very well take a chance on Bo. And I think Bo's
Yeah.
not a bad player. I mean, I'm an Oregon Duck fan. I watch a lot of their games, and I like Nix a lot.
Well, he is Peyton's guy, and
Okay.
Peyton is going to yeah, Peyton
Peyton
is
likes
going
him.
to yeah, kind of hitch his ship to those sales, and so I think he's going to get every chance to be a quality starter.
Bo Nix is a strong. I mean, he had a really high accuracy in college, right? And then of
Right.
course late in the season when push come to shove in the game against Washington, he didn't show that so much for whatever reason. Washington defense might have been that great or whatever, but Bo Nix, we expected him to throw like 70% completions in that game. It just didn't happen. So
Yeah.
he has played a lot of big games though to this point. And I will point out that the Ducks lost to Washington twice last year, and they were both high scoring, close games. And Washington went to the national championship game. So that's how close the Ducks were. And Bo Nix was their quarterback. And I do like the guy. I think that he's one of these guys. He's one of those guys that just kind of grinds, you know?
Yeah, I think he's easily a Drew Brees light here. I don't think he can
Yes,
quite.
there you go. Yeah, I like
Yeah, I
Drew
don't think
Brees.
he can quite say Brees, but yeah, he is.
He's
He
just
may
kind of
not
a
have that.
grinder. He's going to keep it real. He's going to check down. He's going to play it safe. And then when he sees an opportunity, he's got the ability to hit the wide open receiver down the field. I think I've seen him do it with the Ducks a lot of times. Now it's not fair all the time because the Ducks are playing like Oregon State, or somebody like that. But he's played a lot of good teams too there with the Ducks. They've had a lot of tough matchups. And Nick's, I just feel like he's just got that X factor to him, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I like him. I like him. I definitely have him going on day two. I think he's definitely gone on
You
day
think
two.
so? Okay, so you think Penn State, maybe Alabama, another team you run. That's
Right.
another thing about this league. Right now, we got guys running two teams sometimes because we just want solid owners here. We don't want half-ass guys. But eventually, we're trying to get down to one owner per team. So, anybody listening, if you're a serious football fan,
And you love
there's
the league.
openings. What was
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, you like the league, hop on. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So um I think not to get too far ahead of our skis, but yeah, I think Bo Nix goes in day two.
you
He
do.
probably goes to Bama if he doesn't go to Penn State, honestly.
So you're
But
looking
yeah,
at Bo Nix. Okay. So
yeah,
I
yeah,
uncovered something there. I thought maybe I was bringing him up and you're going to be like, hey, I don't know. But you actually like him. Good.
yeah. No, he's that was the one of the primary reasons for dropping Justin Fields. I
All
looked
right.
at, I did the mock a couple of different times before we even hopped on over the course of a couple of different weeks. Just hopped on, took a pencil and paper, and wrote it out. And I see a really strong chance that Penn State might pass and go Bryce Young. They may not, but if Nix is available to Alabama, they're taking Nix there.
So Bryce Young could be available to Penn State, but I have a feeling Phil is going to take him with California with that transfer pick. I really think that Jonathan Brooks goes to Cal. That's just my
And
opinion. And he
yeah,
takes Bryce Young and transfer, which is going to
it,
leave Maryland to take, the guys we just mentioned, either Bo Nix or JJ McCarthy, or even I can't remember the other guy, but I think I just said them both
yeah,
actually. And then Michigan has that restriction, so they take a running back probably. And then Penn State is stuck with basically They'd have to go with like the starting quarterback, Aiden O'Donnell from the Raiders, or they go with the rookie, which is going to be either at this point, it's looking like Drake May or McCarthy
Well,
or Nix.
if I'm looking at this right, and Penn State does indeed say they're taking Bryce Young, and they don't take McCarthy or May, then we have McCarthy and May for Maryland and Penn State, and pushes down Nix to Alabama.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
So
that's not a bad pick too. I mean,
yeah,
at
so
least he's got a shot at starting, and that's what you need in this league because it's a quarterback starved league because of the nature of this league. So, and we talked about this earlier, I think, how a couple of teams in the last couple of years, I know I'm one of them. I won with Davis Mills as my quarterback, and New Mexico
right,
won last year. They didn't have anybody lighting it up. Although I think in the championship game, he did have O'Donnell, and I think O'Donnell did have a pretty good game.
one thing
But
those teams did get though were consistent starts. They didn't just
mm-hmm.
do it scoring a blank at the
That's all
position,
you
which I
need.
think is
Exactly. You need somebody who's going to get a start. In this league, it's best ball, by the way, because it's all young players. So I make it easy on you guys. Just draft your players, scout your players. If you have 5 quarterbacks that are getting starts, the best one's going to rise to the box score. So, yeah, that's how New Mexico got by without having really a clear cut number one quarterback. They did it because they had a group of quarterbacks. They had like 3 guys that were kind of getting numbers, they were getting minutes.
yeah,
And
and then they kind of just the best of.
that's right. Yeah. And it helped. I think it definitely helped. And of course, the play of that Aiden Hutchinson guy helped a lot too. He had a pretty
But
big game there in that championship, man. He scored like quarterback numbers, man. That killed me.
breaking West Coast hearts there.
Yeah, that's all right. I mean, I'd feel bad winning twice. I actually was happy for Phil. I was just like, shit, I made it here. It was a good game. I was happy because it was like
Yeah,
we played good. We put up 60 points, which is a lot in this league.
that's
And I was
impressive.
just like, dude, there's no shame here, man.
Absolutely.
And I
We're
want to
doing
spread the love. I want everybody to have a good time.
absolutely.
And
So looking back at it, we get back into day two here for a minute. If we've taken care of looks like 3 of these teams most likely with running back or not running back, but quarterback.
yeah, I think quarterbacks is going to be a big. It's going to be a big. What is it? It's going to be a theme that day.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Michigan's got their guy. I think that's Jordan Love, and Ohio State has a guy for Philly there. Yeah, the guy from the names. Ohio State's quarterback, Philadelphia
Jalen
quarterback.
Hurts. Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts.
That's right, Jalen Hurts. And Michigan's got Jordan Love, so they're obviously not going to transfer those guys. So yeah, it leaves you with Maryland, Penn State, Alabama, all in need of quarterbacks. Yeah, that's going to be a theme on Saturday, day 2 of the draft. Absolutely. As far as Michigan's concerned, okay, I feel like if you don't take that tight end we just talked about,
Sure.
I think Michigan maybe takes the tight end.
I think so. Gerald loves his tight ends. He
Okay.
he generally, you see him. He generally has a stable of those guys. Um, he might prove me wrong. He might go somewhere completely different.
Well,
But
it kind of makes sense though because he has a restriction at quarterback and I think at wide
wide receiver,
receiver, but he doesn't have a restriction at running back. But he already has 2 good running backs, Jonathan Taylor and
sure.
the other guy I can't
Romeo
remember.
Williams.
Yeah, and it's like those guys had injuries last year, so they didn't place in the top 14. But those are top 14 backs. So
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
feels like he doesn't need to take a chance on a running back next year. He could get away with, taking a nice luxury pick like this, Brock
I
Bowers.
think so. I mean, yeah, and like you say, you look at who else is available with those restrictions. You know, are you in love with Trey Benson there, who's not guaranteed to start? I mean, the next best running back on the board, according to draft stock, maybe some of the guys will say, "Hey, I like Jalen Wright or one of those, or Marshawn Lloyd or somebody like that a little bit
Well,
better."
here's a little wrinkle though. You've got Blake Corum here from Michigan. And of course, Gerald is a Michigan fan. He runs a team called Michigan, so
Right.
maybe he goes that way with that pick, perhaps. I don't think
Perhaps.
Blake Corum. Okay, Corum. I don't think Blake Corum necessarily gets playing time ahead of Kyron Williams as long as Kyron Williams is healthy. But there's the problem.
Right.
Kyron Williams is not always healthy. And Blake Corum looks like a stud to me. If I could take him first round this year, I would be very happy because I have Kyron Williams. And I would love to hedge that bet with Blake Corum.
Oh yeah, that would be a phenomenal pickup for that San Diego State
Yeah,
team.
yeah. If we didn't have Marvin Harrison, of course. No,
Yeah.
Blake Corum is a guy that I'm totally interested in.
Do you think there's a chance he gets back up the board?
Was say that again?
Do you think there's a chance he gets back up the board to you in round two?
No, no, not really. No, because running backs generally go pretty fast in this league. I noticed. I've analyzed the drafts from the past,
Right.
and yeah, I feel like running backs go pretty quick. And nah, I don't see. Now
No, no.
everybody's gonna know what I'm thinking right now because we just talked about it. Yeah, I want Blake Corum. No, I don't. I don't see him coming back to the Aztecs in the second round. That's like we have 14 teams, right? I'll be
We
picking
do.
like 27th.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, so that is a little late for the Blake Corum train. But
I wish. I mean, if you guys want to let me
it's
have them, that's fine
it's
with me.
super interesting because it's not a player guaranteed to start right away. The
No,
player
he
with a lot
won't.
of
But
talent.
guess what? Kyron will get hurt. I just know this. I feel it in my heart. And right behind me here, I got this Rams thing. You know, I'm a Rams fan. So,
I do.
so I know the Rams pretty well, and I just feel like I love Kyron Williams, but he's going to get hurt, and I think Blake Corum's going to be their new back. He's going to be the stud for that team. That's why they took him, I think, because they knew it
I'm,
too.
I'm going to have to ask you a tough question then.
Okay.
Uh, Kyle Williams gets hurt in game three, out for 2 weeks. Does he play again?
Well, I think so. But unless Blake Corum, of course, steps in and just starts dominating, yeah, then he's going to struggle to get back into the lineup. I think that Sean McVay just will go with the hot hand, what's working. He's going to go with what's working. And if Blake Corum is looking great and handling the load, and he looks stronger than Kyron Williams, he's bigger, he's bulkier. I could see him just taking over. Yeah, no, I think Kyron is going to struggle to get back on to number RB1 should he get hurt. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just
No, I'm
food for
just
thought. Like, yeah, I mean, like
McVay wants to win. He's
he
gonna,
does, he does.
yeah. You saw what Puka Nakua did last year. Right away, the guy started like he was a nails guy, and didn't matter that he was a rookie. They just started using him.
Right. Yeah, I
McVay
mean,
is just like he just wants to win. It's like the Rams could have packed it in last year. Early in the season, I was like, oh no, this is a throwaway season. By the end of the year,
right.
they were competing again, and we almost went to the conference championship, and that would have been a barn burner. If we would have went back against the Niners, if we would have beat the Lions, oh my God,
That,
dude. And it
yeah, that
came
would
really close to happening, and nobody expected that. But that's Sean
have
McVay. I swear that's his doing. That guy he does not give
very,
up.
very tenacious. Very tenacious.
And I love it. We got a young, cool guy as our quarterback. What else do you want? But
For
yeah,
sure.
that's so okay.
They,
I mean, I guess we could finish off the video by going. I mean, I don't want to hold you up forever. It's almost 10 o'clock, but I mean, we're down to day 3 now, so
well, we haven't
you
talked
had
about
something
Ohio
to say,
State
so go
yet.
ahead. But I mean, yeah, go ahead.
We haven't talked about Ohio State yet.
Okay, wait. I thought we might have a little bit touched on them. You're right. I think my opinion on Ohio. Okay, you're right. You're right. Yeah, go for it.
I get the floor here, huh?
Yeah,
Like,
I'll
yeah.
I'll come up with something while you're talking.
This is an interesting one for me, and I really have it as Xavier Worthy here.
All right.
You can make an argument for Brian Thomas, the higher draft capital guy. You could make an
Okay.
argument for almost anybody drafted in that immediate range. There's some big Keon Coleman fans because who's going to be the wide receiver one in Buffalo? There's some Lad McConkey fans who's going to be the wide receiver one for the Chargers.
Right.
And
28th pick overall, Xavier Worthy out of Texas going to the Chiefs. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, I, I know that I don't know, but it seems like that maybe Gerald has some affinity for the Chiefs there. Ray Rice or She Rice, I believe, not Ray Rice. It's
Mm-hmm,
last
mm-hmm.
for She Rice. Had Patrick Mahomes. I I think that high flying offense there in Kansas City,
Right.
with especially with all the questions around Rasheed Rice, is he going to be in trouble? Is he going to be on the field? What do we know? Maybe that situation clears itself up, and he just
All
is
right.
is back in the fold from day one. But uh, I believe Xavier Rice, and you're looking at there, he drafted Sky Moore too. He was a Sky Moore believer. Sky Moore, Rasheed
Right.
Rice. Yeah, any
Been watching
the,
Jerry.
yeah. No, like loves the KC guy. Like, and if you're a believer in Rasheed Rice and you're a believer in Sky Moore, you've got to believe in Xavier Worthy. This guy is more talented than any of those three. Just my personal opinion.
He's
So
slick. He's skinny. I have what do I have here? Athlon Sports review preview
yeah,
whatever,
uh,
and he's listed at like 6'1" and 172. A little skinny, but that doesn't matter. I mean, come on, you got
yeah. You can see the numbers he put up in Texas as a freshman. Not Texas, but
yeah, Texas. That's where he played. Yeah,
yeah, Texas. Yeah, Texas as a freshman. I believe it was like something like 1,400 yards as an 18-year-old in big time football. Like,
Xavier
you know,
Worthy.
yeah. This
I'm looking at 16 yards per catch, 981 yards in his 2021, 12 games, see two receptions,
12
not
days.
bad. And
Okay,
what I look at it a
I'll
lot of
admit that.
times is touchdowns too. He had 12 touchdowns that year. So when they're going to the guy in the red zone, you know he's good. That's what I
Yeah,
noticed. Remember the guy for the Arizona Cardinals? I mean, I'm drawing back on my memory banks and I'm getting old and I forget these names, but goddamn, he's like a very famous player for the Arizona Cardinals, wide
Fitzgerald,
receiver. Who?
Fitzgerald,
Yeah,
Fitzgerald, Larry.
Fitzgerald. Yes, Fitzgerald.
Yeah,
When he was drafted, the year he was drafted, that's what I looked at was the touchdowns. And sure enough, he had a great career. It was like you can
oh
tell a
yeah,
lot
Hall of
by
Fame.
certain statistics. When they're going to a guy in the red zone, he's good. And so yeah, Xavier Worthy, I could see it. He's a little small. He's not really tall, but he's a guy that if he gets he just beats his man. And I was that
Right.
kind of player. I wasn't 6'1". I'm only like 5'8". But when I'd play football, we'd play tackle, and I played a lot of flag when
Yeah,
I was a kid. If my guy, I could beat my guy. If he did not put
right.
hands on me and stop me, I could fool
Yeah,
him into thinking I was just jogging out there, not doing nothing. Then I'd just hit the second gear and leave him
yeah,
in the dust, and it's a 50-yard touchdown. And so guys
yeah.
like that, little guys, skinny guys, look out because we just fool you into thinking we're not doing anything, and then we hit that next gear, the third gear, and the next thing you know, we're downfield and you're like 10 yards away, and we got a 50-yard touchdown bump. So yeah, I could
But
see that.
yeah, so there's all kinds of options here at receiver, and I have a feeling it probably is a receiver. You asked me to name a receiver, that would probably be it. I mean, there is a Doomsday here as well.
Well, he
Uh,
might fall for the big name, but you're
yeah,
right. You have the Kansas City connection. Perhaps he's like thinking, about Kansas City. He knows who's throwing to him there, Mahomes,
when,
obviously.
yeah,
So
when you
if he's smart, he might be thinking that way. If he's thinking deep.
if you get that, if you get the right player in that offense, that's a league, not maybe league winner, but it could easily be somebody who is a game winner. Several to win you several games if you get Kansas City's featured receiver for the next 4 years.
Yeah, there's a chance maybe he thinks he can go with one of the higher profile guys and then come around in the third round or the second round and get him. But the thing is in this league we've changed things around to where the transfer draft happens after the rookie draft. So if you take a a skill player like a quarterback, wide receiver, or running back in the first 2 rounds, it could cause a draft restriction where one doesn't exist currently. So let's look at what we're looking at here with Ohio State. They don't have a wide receiver restriction yet, but they could get one if they take a wide receiver in the first 2 rounds, so or first round. So let's have a look over here. I got the top 14 top players.
I don't
Sorry,
remember the receiver being
there it
very
is. There it
high.
is. Okay, so let's see if he has a top 14 wide receiver. We're talking about Michigan, right?
The
Ohio
OSU,
State. Ohio State. Is that right? Ohio State.
Ohio State, yes. I don't think he does.
He
If memory
doesn't.
serves.
You're right. He does not. So he could actually wait on this guy for the second round. Now we're talking about it, so somebody else might be like, "Wait a minute."
Right?
Yeah, we're kind of throwing a wrench in his game here, possibly. But
I,
that's
I
what
just don't see
happens.
Xavier. I don't see Xavier Worthy
You don't think so?
lasting back up. No, I mean, as we're
Well,
talking
you're a
before,
really good scout. Oh, of course, because you're running Alabama. You might take him. Yeah, exactly. You'd be like, "What?
yeah,
He's still there? Yeah, I'll take him."
yeah. I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. Uh,
All
the
right.
the the name profile is going to be too big. The name profile is going to be too big. Anybody who's watching a lot of video, the Chiefs, uh, they've been in the news because of this Rashee Rice situation. Um, I don't.
I did not even know about that. That's why I love talking to you because you're just on top of it, man. I mean, I think I'm on top of it, fairly on top of it,
Yeah,
but you really
big.
know a few things.
I've tried. I've really enjoyed preparing for this year's draft. I've prepared for it probably more than last year's, honestly, as far as just the amount of homework done, because it's such an exciting draft to prepare for.
Yeah.
Because there's still, we're talking about Xavier Worthy, and there's still another good 6 or 7 more than wide receivers who could be drafted within the first 2 rounds easily. And somebody's going to be feeling very good about what they picked up and what they're going back with. Um, yeah, I mean, like if you want Worthy, I think you have to take him here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. There's just too many other selections coming up before then. You've got Alabama, as you said, might be on the Xavier Worthy train if they're still available coming back up because
Yeah.
we
Right.
need some help with receiver. But I don't even think he will last to Alabama, which will be the pick before OSU. You got Fresno State, who's looking for some offensive talent. You've got Oregon, who has no restrictions because of all the red shirts. You've got Tulane, no wide receiver restriction. Texas, no wide receiver restriction.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah. He's
there's
not going to
just
last. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
there's
You can't
just a
pass on him.
lot. Yeah, there's just a lot. If he's your guy, if he's your
Yeah.
guy,
Because
you got to
Oregon
go.
picks here at the end, and then they get the first pick of the second round. Fresno State, Fritz does tend to pick defensive players sometimes early. I don't know why, but he'll do that.
Yeah, well,
But
I
you
mean,
are facing a threat from Hunter, and you got Phil here. He's definitely not Phil, but Ben
yeah,
at
I mean,
Texas. Yeah, and
yeah.
you're
Got to
coming
go
up,
go
so I already know how you feel about this guy.
go
So
to Texas twice. Got to be
yeah,
with the Texas twice, and to Alabama coming back.
and so you
I
don't
don't.
you Alabama. Do you have a top 14 wide receiver on the list already on your team?
I do not
Not.
believe so.
Yeah.
I kept a lot of wide receivers, but a lot of those guys were injured or playing poorly, shall we say. I've got a lot of guys who are kind of like
Yeah, you're right.
semi.
Yeah, you don't have anybody. Yeah, you're good. You're good to go. You could
Yeah,
take a wide receiver first and second round. Yeah, you could totally do that if you wanted to.
I could. I've got Jameson Williams, who I'm hoping for better things for. Sean Bateman's
Right.
supposed to get a bigger role this
Jamison
year.
Williams.
Uh, you know, there is players on that Alabama roster that I don't have to go wide receiver, but I'm definitely not opposed to it because
Well, there's a lot of
yeah,
good ones in this draft.
There's a lot of good ones. There's a lot of good ones. It's going to depend on who is. We're going to get too far ahead of it. It's going to depend on the other running back might be that's available coming back as well. The running back class has some interesting flyers, but not a lot of true and tried depth that I feel really good about.
Oh no. I mean,
Ernie,
once you're down to like, I'm looking at the list now, you can probably see it. But I mean, after you get past these first three guys, Marshawn Lloyd, perhaps, but he's going to the Packers, and doesn't he have competition there?
yeah, he's got Josh Jacobs right now.
Josh Jacobs went to the Packers.
Josh Jacobs is starting running back for the Packers. He's
Oh
at the end of
crap!
his career,
Yeah,
but
Marshawn
yeah,
Lloyd is definitely second in line there. Uh, Dolphins with Jalen. We know that they have a deep running game, and then Bucky Irving. He's a guy I like. I like Bucky Irving. I'd like to see him last to the second round. So I'm hoping that maybe a lot of teams want these wide receivers because there are a lot of higher rated wide receivers. And so maybe I
right.
could get Bucky. I don't think Irving, I'm an Oregon fan, so I'm kind of like, biased, but
Yeah,
he is really good. And I don't necessarily need a starter. I just want somebody who might be able to throw up a good game once in a while because it is best ball. And Irving's the kind of guy he could bust out a 75-yard run and he's going to have 5 fantasy points. He's going to help you out in this league. And I
yeah. I
think
think
that,
he's going to.
what's that?
I think he'll get some carries. I don't know how many carries behind White, but
Yeah. But he's gonna work his way in. And I could see
for
him being
sure.
a lot like the guy that I used to have, Singletary, Devin Singletary. That's the running
Right.
back, right, for the Bills.
Yeah. Then Texans, Bills, the
Yeah,
Texans.
yes, that's right, with the Texans last year. So Singletary's been on my team for as long as we've been in this league. And the thing that was nice about him was that late in the season, when all the starters got hurt, he was there. He was the
Right.
guy waiting to have the big game, and he could totally do that because he's receiving back, and he is a fast guy. He's a little guy, and all of a sudden, late in the season, he's my boy. He's the guy that's just like killing it for me. So I
Right.
see Bucky Irving is that kind of guy. Like, the starters are maybe banged up or whatever. Maybe
Right.
they're holding him back late in the season because they're going to the playoffs. Bucky Irving's one of those guys that will all of a sudden be like throwing down big games late. And that's something you got to consider in this league is that just depth. You need depth. Put more bodies out there on your team. You never know when they're going to have that big game. And
Playing time is gold in this league. Playing time is gold.
absolutely, depth in general, yeah, totally. And so, yeah, I mean, we got a little ahead of ourselves here. We're talking second round already, but
Right.
it
Well,
gets a little
sometimes
confusing. What's that?
sometimes it's important. Sometimes it's important to look and see what you're looking at to better understand
Yeah,
what's
what's
going to
going
happen.
on now? Yes, right. So we went into. You wanted to finish out the day two, and I think we did that with Ohio State. You're feeling like wide receiver. I think Michigan
Yeah.
might take a tight end. I think 3 quarterbacks might go on that day. And if not, something else happens because there's a transfer possibility for somebody.
Well,
We
I mean,
go to day three, and you got Texas coming onto the clock. They've got a quarterback restriction. Wide receiver and running back are wide open. Plus, because a lot of them might be picked over, maybe they go defense. I don't know that there's a lot of like ace picks on defense, like surefire things. But day
uh,
three. Go ahead.
I don't know how they pass on a wide receiver here. Still, even though some of those guys have been picked, we were weighing a Doomsday and Xavier Worthy just a moment ago, and then
Yep.
a Doomsday it falls to Texas, and day three, what a bargain!
Adunze.
Uh, Still the draft,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I can understand why that might happen. But like, if Texas is sitting here looking at a Doomsday or Worthy for that matter, if that's their choice, holy cow! You talk about getting good guys late in the draft, and you don't have to have a top pick. This is probably like, for me, this is an inflection point here where you're like, you know, Texas is a program that just barely missed the playoffs, and then they fell a little bit in the supplementary bowl season, but you're pick number 11, and you get potentially a quarterback who could have been or not a quarterback. My apologies, a wide receiver who could have been wide receiver one in most drafts in a doomsday,
Mm-hmm.
or you get Worthy who could be the focal point of the Kansas City offense for the next 4 years. Like they gonna be really stoked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
I
mean,
totally agree. No, the thing is if you look at past drafts, and I'm going to go back to just a random one. I'm just going to pick one. Just bear with me here for a second. But you go ahead and say something if you got something to say. But oh, here we go. Let's go
well,
back to 2021. Let's just go to the rookie draft results. Pick 11, right?
yes, pick 11.
Chuba Hubbard. Okay, fine. But pick. Okay, that was a bad example. A
No,
little
because
higher. There were some
Justin
wide
Jefferson
receivers.
went really late. Justin Jefferson went really late in this. I
That's
forget what
right.
pick it
Yeah,
was.
that's what I was getting at.
Justin Jefferson went in the
Yeah,
back half of the draft.
Jefferson was like a very low pick. That was probably 2020. And I know CD Lamb also. I think 2020 was the year that there was some
Oh,
major
I,
bargains.
yeah, I was shocked. I was absolutely flabbergasted that Lamb fell that far in the NFL draft and in our draft, like both places. I was, yeah, like
You've got Justin Jefferson going 13th in 2020. And CD
yeah.
Lamb, where was he at?
Uh,
He was the same year, I thought.
uh,
Maybe not.
the
No, he
the
wasn't.
previous year, or not the previous year, but the following year.
Oh,
I'm
there he
sorry.
is. No, there he is. Look. Okay, he's on screen. CD Lamb 10th overall. Okay, so it doesn't fall as far as 11.
Yeah.
But then you
Look,
got Justin Jefferson at 13th. I mean, it's like, yeah, you can get
Lamb,
somebody at this point. You can totally get a steal.
yeah, and if you scroll up, Henry Ruggs goes before Lamb. Not picking on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Oh, I
yeah.
remember. Yeah,
The guy could
Ruggs.
have had a great career if he hadn't gotten struck
Well,
by
he
the
got in that
wheel.
major freaking accident. Yeah, I mean, oh my God, yeah, that was horrible. Yeah, I know. I remember that
Yeah,
Ruggs. I know, right? That was you. Of course, you
yeah.
remember. That was you. I'm sorry about that.
No, I don't. I didn't take Ruggs.
Oh,
He
you
was on my
didn't?
team. No,
Oh, Tulane did. Yeah, Tulane.
yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I,
He came
I
from
think I ended up with
Alabama.
Jalen. Yeah, I think I ended up with Jalen Rager that year,
He
just to
went
pick following
Jerry Judy
Jefferson.
at number 6. Went
Horrible.
to Alabama, but you're probably talking about Appalachian State at the time. You took Isaiah
Yeah,
Simmons, and that one was you had no choice there. You had all these restrictions with that team.
yeah. That's back when we did even defensive restrictions.
Yeah, I
For
know.
sure.
Back then we had those too. I know. I stopped all that crap. I was just like, that's stupid. You know.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
Well,
Like you look at
defense
those.
is so up and down. I mean, this has been a work in progress, but actually, I've got it pretty nailed down for the last couple of years. Like, we haven't made any rule changes for the most part, and honestly,
Yeah,
most of the rule changes have been initiated by Gerald.
it's a lot of. Yeah, we had some red shirt.
Yeah, injury red shirts.
But other than that, a lot of, like you say, is very much, we took away some restrictions here or there. Other
Mhm.
than that, the biggest change we've had was the change coming up this year, which is the draft order. And that's not
Right.
necessarily a rule change so much as it is a technical change that is going to put a little more onus on the draft even than it already is, in my personal opinion, on making good selections. Um,
Could be.
like because you are accruing restrictions in draft now, which was something that never happened before.
Right. Well, it had to
So
be that way. Yeah, because I can't
yeah,
circumvent the system. You already have like one great wide receiver. You can't pick two more. It would make it. I just don't want people to be overstocked and hoard talent at the skill positions. So yeah, it makes
yeah,
it kind of challenging. It's more challenging for me to like keep order of it. Like keep track of things, but I'm okay with it. Yeah, you're right. The
okay.
main thing, here's why that happened, why that change happened. Phil, for some reason, was the one that wanted to change that. I think he just didn't like that. I don't know. I don't know why he did it, honestly. He never really told me, but he felt like you had to make decisions too early to know, to understand the transfer draft, maybe. Like I put
Right.
Davis Mills out there. And I think a lot of people, because they want to stock up on quarterbacks, wanted to draft Davis Mills to keep him away from my team
Right.
because I had CJ Stroud, and they didn't want me having CJ Stroud's natural backup. And I planned that out well ahead of time. I was like, yeah, I'm going to
Yeah.
save this because I know nobody's going to want Davis Mills like in the transfer draft because he's going to create a draft restriction. And
Right.
so I waited to take him in the 3-round preseason draft because I had a high pick. I had the number 1 pick. And I
Right.
think that's what kind of triggered him. I'm not really sure. That's just my idea.
There were several. I think the picks just became really more valuable if you saved them.
Right. They did. That's right. That was the other
Right.
reason. Exactly. Georgia saved some picks. And I think guys actually realized that at that point. And they're like, oh, crap. If I would have known
Right.
more, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of confusing, but I'm just always aiming to please everybody. I just want
I
everybody
got
to be
you.
happy and feel like they're being treated fairly. Now, of course, you got Gerald over here. Check out his latest post here.
What we
Gerald
got going?
says, Glenn, can't you use empty slots to make more to take more players in the draft? So he wants to like get more rookies, like with his transfer picks. And I tell him, well, in the past, the empty slots were always for transfer picks.
Right.
So what I think is that Gerald gets really excited about the rookie draft. And if you look at the track record of his teams, he throws away a lot of his rookies. They end up worthless. And so I think he's just excited about rookies. Maybe he falls for that a little bit.
It can be exciting. They come in,
Yeah. But
the
I'm
fresh
trying to
face.
help him. I'm trying to help him.
Right.
It's like, dude, no, you don't want more rookie picks, dude. Most of these guys are going to be failures. You're better off with the transfer picks for veterans and for the
Right.
preseason picks. So I'm just saying. I mean,
Yeah.
Gerald, he's always kind of like, just
Yeah.
kind of
His
stirring the
thing.
pot a little bit. You know what I mean? That's what he does. I know,
Yeah.
right? But I appreciate him. He's brought in
Yeah.
a lot of good change for this league.
For sure. For sure. But yeah, looking at it, I don't know how far we want to get into it, but like I really think that there's still going to be some good talent left. I think that we've talked a lot about the first 10 to 11 players,
Yeah,
and we haven't even really started talking about people you might consider flyers yet. I think
right.
everybody talked about so far, you should feel pretty good about being a contributor to your team. And I think you can probably fill out the rest of the first round in that fashion. Um,
Yeah, I agree. Fresno State,
yeah,
he's got no restrictions. Who knows? He needs a quarterback. I could see him transferring somebody in. I think that might be a smart move on his part because by this point in the draft, Fresno State isn't looking at like a really surefire quarterback unless he's got a shot at maybe Drake May or McCarthy.
yeah,
Penix, I would say no way. Maybe Bo Nix if he's got a shot. Yeah.
yeah,
I would say pass on that though. Go for one of the wideouts and then save that transfer pick, for the quarterback position. And you're going to get either Aiden O'Connell, you're going to get Bryce Young, probably not Bryce Young, but Aiden O'Connell. And there's another guy I think that's supposed to get playing time this year. I know there's somebody out there, but
you still
there's
got
going
Will
to
Levis.
Levitt's good. Yeah, Levis. Yes, you could get him. So Fresno State, hard to say what he
And
might do. Tulane, same deal. Now look, they got Anthony Richardson. Tulane does. I
oh
want
yeah,
to talk about Tulane. Let's talk about them.
okay,
But I'm in round 2 over here. Fresno State. Tulane picks before Fresno State. Gosh dang it. I had the wrong round there, but it's okay. It's still the same difference.
right,
Tulane picking ahead of Fresno State. They don't have a quarterback restriction because Anthony Richardson was redshirted. Do they try to
yes.
swipe one of the rookies or even go the transfer route? Maybe not a bad idea.
Like that's a valid strategy. Still looking at wide receiver here if I'm Tulane personally, because Anthony Richardson is one of these players who has drawn a lot of polarizing takes, but there are some people who believe he will break fantasy football this year. His ability to score rushing touchdowns on the ground,
Hey,
and
he looked
they
good
believe
when he played.
Yeah, they believe in his arm. They're like, hey, this throws weren't nearly as bad as we thought. He's going to have some weapons. You know, could he be somebody who just really changes fantasy football this year? And like we talked about earlier with the high floor for running quarterbacks, unless Tulane just doesn't believe Richardson is healthy, I believe they take a wide receiver here and try to be super competitive this year because if you look at their points totals, can you look at their points totals for last year
Yeah, on
in their
Tulane.
game?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll pull them
it's
up.
gonna be. I think it's gonna be some really interesting things
Got
when we
the
talk
Green
about this
Wave over
program.
here, the Green Tide.
Yeah, you look at if there's a way to look at their results from last year, I don't know if that's still
Um,
possible.
right now, Fanstar is kind of weird with I can't seem to access the I'm gonna have to talk I'll talk to the guy. I haven't paid for the site, so I feel bad like asking him for favors right now, but I'm gonna pay
Right.
for it really soon. But no, these little things aren't working right now. But you can see the averages right here. So you
Yeah,
can
I
see
mean
Anthony Richardson went like 6.5 points per game. What are you looking for?
this is a program that lost a lot of close games, and if you look at their points
Oh,
totals on average,
results. Yeah, I got you.
yeah, yeah, like the results.
Yeah, I can do that actually.
I think I think you'll see why that I'm big on this program having a chance to draft a wide receiver here and make an immediate impact.
Okay,
And
so
you talk about a team I predict as a riser this year. This is a team that I would say is going to be a riser because most of these are without quarterback play. So you add another 10 points, seven, not even 10 points, even 7 points to their totals. They've
okay, so yeah,
lost.
we're looking at like about a 2 point loss there. Here is a 3 point loss. Looking at a 1 point loss here, 2 point loss. That was a tight
And
game, fairly tight game.
scoring 40 points a game on the regular without a quarterback.
Right. I know, right? And he lost by like here to Michigan by like, about 4 points. Yeah. No, he was close. I mean, Tulane was a dangerous team. And then late in the season, when it came to bowl season, which it's week 15 and beyond, you got to win there. Then they lost their last two games, but they got hot right here from week 11 to 13. And then bowl season, they got the upset over Texas. Yeah. No, so you feel that they lost a lot of close games.
They have their quarterback already.
Yeah, and they have Richardson already. Yep. And so you feel like wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean they could take a running back, but I'm just big on the wide receiver depth still at this
Oh
point
yeah, for sure.
because all those
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's a no-brainer. Look, they got James Cook at running back. They got Travis Etienne. They have to take a wide receiver most
yeah, they got
likely.
Tajay Spears, like,
Yeah,
and
they
they help
have nothing. Yeah,
Mingo and Jennings,
there's nothing there. Yeah.
and in Carolina, Mingo isn't generating any buzz for year two. Like it's another guy that we're hearing
Yeah,
about. Who is,
yeah. I
look
really
out for
doubt
this
that.
guy.
Yeah,
He's on the ups. So
yeah. I don't think he's creating any buzz at all. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, Jennings is in a really crowded situation, and Debo Samuel, Brandon
Right,
Ayuk are both still
right.
there. We got Ricky Pearsall, you know, if vying for snaps,
Yeah.
#1 pick. Like,
So yeah, I agree. Wide receiver seems to make sense for these
you're going to have
guys.
some. Yeah, yeah. Coleman, Pearsall, we just talked about Leggett, maybe McConkey, even. And then it starts getting a little bit lighter, but still
Oh
got some. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. You still got some guys out there who are worthy of consideration. So if Tulane goes wide receiver there, I surely suspect they will, and that will.
Fresno State, maybe Blake Corum.
Yeah, Fresno State can do a lot of things here. Like, you got Trey Benson still hasn't been signed yet. You got Trey Benson, you got, like you said, Blake Corum. It's these these five teams here who pick on Saturday and Sunday are going to really change the face of the rest of the league because they're going to determine what comes back. They're going to
Yeah.
do their kind of their bookend picks here. All these are well,
This
oldest
is
only
the
true bookend. Yeah,
this is these teams' chance to, basically take some pieces off the board. If they're thinking about this stuff and they're doing their scouting, they're going to take some key pieces off the board, and it's going to leave the rest of us picking defensive players.
yeah. I mean, like if you are any of these five teams, you can take a talented wide receiver and you can really clean out the rest of the running back pool if
Yep.
that's what you desire. Yeah,
Yep.
there's not a lot of restrictions here. Tulane is the only team that has a restriction outside of the QB restriction. So
So
these are teams
let's
that,
go. I mean, we could go ahead and just say second round. I just want to think about this. Tulane. Okay. So I think you're right. Take a wide receiver first round. Second round, though, you got a running back restriction. They might even incur. I don't think no, they won't have a wide receiver restriction. So they could go. We already talked about that. They have a terrible wide receiver core. They could go wide receiver again, or maybe they are at that point looking at somebody that's left at quarterback. Could happen.
well,
I could see that happening actually.
yeah, because of the way that this draft queue has kind of fell outside of Texas, I'm trying to remember Texas's wide receiver core at the moment, but
I could pull it up.
Oregon is going to be free of restrictions. Tulane is going to be free of restrictions. Fresno State is going to be free of restrictions. All of these teams, either by redshirting or roster construction at the moment, I don't think anybody incurs nobody's going to
No,
nobody's going to
that's
incur a
Texas right
restriction. No
there.
matter, yeah,
That's their wide receivers. Yeah, I mean
no
Quentin
matter,
Johnson, what a disappointment he's been.
sure. I mean, hopefully they get something better out of him this year. I was never a big Quentin Johnson believer. He was kind of on my
It was picks. I guess you should never just trust the Chargers. Whatever they do, don't believe them. Just go
oh,
get away from them. Because seriously, he was a lottery pick. This is ridiculous.
oh yeah.
And I'm in
Like,
San Diego, and they used to be here, and I like the Chargers. I root for them. And man, they are disappointing sometimes. Keenan Allen, yeah, he was a great pick, but that was years ago. They strike out a
so
lot. Philip Rivers, he was a good pick. And you know what's funny is I told the guy I work with, oh, Philip Rivers, or not Philip Rivers, but I mean Justin Herbert. I was like, that guy's he's gonna be a good quarterback. He's Chargers need to get him. And oh no, I don't think he's that great. It's like, okay.
oh
Yeah, no, Charger fans don't know anything, apparently. Yeah. I guess it goes top and to with bottom, that, I'm just going to end the video right here. Mark and myself, we went on talking for about another 45 minutes. It was mostly just small talk, but I think we went over the first round pretty good here in the program football league. And hopefully you guys find this video informative. And it was, even if you're not in this league, at least you got to hear us talk a little bit about just players in general, especially rookies, new players coming into the league. That's what we do here is we deal with the young players, the rookie draft. And if you pay attention to the rookies in fantasy football, you can succeed, I believe, because those are where your sleepers will often be. A lot of these guys that you're drafting against don't really know the rookie class. And these are the guys that could make or break your team. If you're well studied on the rookie class, the incoming rookies every year, you might be able to get that sleeper in, say, round 7, round 8 in your standard fantasy football drafts. And those are the guys that could help you win championships. So I hope you guys all come back and watch more videos here and find it all informative. I am going to leave a link to the program football league down here in the description box, so you can check it out for yourself if you want to. At any rate, we'll talk to you in the next one.